Welcome to ISE's Equity Index Weekly Outlook, a weekly outlook on ISE and other industry indexes, hosted by Patrick Ceresna, a derivative market specialist and investment manager with extensive expertise in options and the broader derivative markets. ISE trades options on more than 15 proprietary sector indexes, as well as broad-based indexes and a variety of licensed benchmarks. ISE continually enhances its trading systems and develops new index options products to provide investors with the best marketplace and investment tools to trade smarter.
Hello and welcome to the ISE Equity Index Outlook for September 28, 2009. This is Patrick Ceresna. First off, as always, I want to take a look at the S&P 500 using that SPDR exchange traded fund symbol SPY. We basically had a little bit of a topping formation come up around that 108 level and reversal back down into this focal point at the 104 to 106 zone. For the last few weeks, we've been talking over and over again that we were looking for a market top to occur somewhere along this zone, and with that topping formation sort of occurring right in that midpoint and reversal has us wondering whether or not we have seen that top. The one thing I will stress is that normally when a market top is created, there's after the first initial pullback, there's many people that were waiting for pullbacks to buy, and so we can't rule out there still being a couple more swings back up into these zones, which would make it difficult for any initial short sellers to get positioned without feeling a little bit heat on their positions. But nonetheless, we want to see a lot of loss of momentum up here, a lot of failed rally attempts. If we start seeing many of those things, then we can gain more and more confidence that in fact some sort of a top is in there. I do want to stress that there are some analysts looking for year-end targets up in the 120 to 122 area. That is also technically the home of a significant fib retracement, as well as the area where the significant market crash of last September, October started from. But at this stage, we don't believe and we are not of the opinion that the market will reach that level. We are still standing by that the top should come in these zones, but that doesn't mean that this is a glaring shorting opportunity. This is probably a topping process, and we probably have lots of time to reposition on numerous rally attempts into these zones. Next here, I want to take a look at the ISE US Regional Banks Index, which is the symbol JLO. We slightly adjusted the upper focal point by 50 cents just to reflect those multiple highs that occurred up in those zones. And really at this stage, we are getting a little bit of selling, but the selling isn't really that intense at this moment. What will be very important to see is whether or not the regional banks start to accelerate on the downside, particularly whether or not they can find support at those previous swing lows around that 18.5 area. So long as this continues to be range bound and no major technical damage, then more than likely it'll stay range bound. But if we are destined to have a much bigger picture market pullback, I do imagine that the regional banks will be one of the sectors that should show some relative weakness. So we'll be watching to see how this is following in unison to the S&P. Next here, I want to take a look at the ISE Syndex, which is the symbol SIN. This is an index of all the casino, tobacco, and distiller companies. We drew out those measured move targets about a month ago, and we've been watching them as the market's been approaching into those zones. We had more or less a proper healthy testing into that 108 to 112 zone, including a few attempts to shoot above it, which obviously brought some selling back into those zones. But if in fact we have support still in here, we can't rule out a couple of more pushes on the upside into the 119 to 125 zone still, but the risk reward of being along this index is really not there. So I do believe that any strength here should be used as an opportunity to unwind existing positions. Next here, I have a chart of the ISE Home Builders Index, which is the symbol RUF, and more or less we had a test last week up into that 1125 to 1150 area. We were suggesting that if the market was able to make a push above there, we could target those zones up into the 12.5, 13.5 area on the upside. But at this stage, it's clear that we've put some sort of a double top in place off of that key support line, and we worked our way very aggressively back down to that 10 to 10.25 area on those housing numbers. And more or less at this stage, we're going to be at a critical moment, because if that 10 to 10.25 area doesn't hold this support line, then we're going to have a break of a neckline that's going to accelerate the selling and confirm some sort of a short-term top. And if the selling selling doesn't rebound in any way, that short-term top certainly can in fact play out to be a more of an intermediate top and maybe even the year high. So we're going to watch very closely as to how this will play out in this upcoming week. Next here, I want to take a look at the ISE Natural Gas Index, which is the symbol FUM. And we more or less had our price target for the last month or more up at this 100 and 110 zone. We got a perfect hit into that measured move right into the center midpoint of that area, and now we're beginning that consolidation. Now, just because we finished a measured move doesn't mean that in particular with this natural gas index that we're calling a major high. It could be some sort of an intermediate to short-term high. But if in fact we find support lines around the 90-93 area and the natural gas commodities continues to rebound, we may in fact see more pushes higher. But at least for now, a short-term high is in, and there may be some further selling back down to retest that 90-93 zone on the downside. And finally, when we take a look at that ISE Mini FTSE 100 index symbol UKX, we've are seeing some hesitation up at our measured move target in this 500 to 520 area on the upside. At this stage, we continue to think that this will play out similarly to the S&P 500. There's a legitimate chance we're seeing a significant intermediate top starting to form here, but that doesn't mean that it's going to actually do this and just start selling from this moment. More than likely, after we have a good bout of selling in some of these areas, we probably will have some retesting, if not even, if there's enough momentum, even temporary pushes slightly higher to finish some of those extended moves. But nonetheless, we are looking for a topping formation to develop in here, and the risk reward of being long this UKX is simply not there. That was your ISE Equity Index Outlook. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for participating in this week's session. Please join us again next week. For more information about Patrick Ceresna and to sign up for free index options trade alerts, visit www.optionsource.net. To learn more about ISE index options, visit us at www.ise.com/indexoptions.